This is CBN News Watch.
Thank you so much for joining us for CBN News Watch on this Friday, June 6th. We've got lots to get to in this half hour. We're going to begin in the Middle East, where Israel is turning to an unlikely source for help in defeating Hamas in Gaza. This comes as Iranian nuclear talks continue and Israel strikes Hezbollah UAV production and storage facilities in Lebanon. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has more now. She's reporting from Jerusalem.
Israel has been arming a family clan, sometimes called a militia, in Gaza in order to strengthen opposition to Hamas. Israeli opposition leader Avigdor Lieberman leaked that information to Israeli media, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did not deny the report.
On the advice of security officials, we activated clans in Gaza that oppose Hamas. What's wrong with this? This is only good and saves the lives of IDF soldiers. The publication of this only benefits Hamas, but Lieberman doesn't care.
The group, led by Yasser Abu Shabab, has been documented operating in an area near the Kerem Shalom border crossing that is under Israeli military control and where aid trucks enter Gaza. It has about 300 members, which Hamas sees as a thorn in its flesh. That report comes as the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has closed all of its aid distribution sites in Gaza for now, saying they will be reopened later. The sites were closed after shootings near the aid locations earlier this week. Meanwhile, Israel has assured the U.S. it will not strike Iran's nuclear facilities unless President Trump makes it clear that negotiations with Iran have failed, according to Axios. But in another sign that Iran is building up its military program, the Wall Street Journal reports Iran has ordered material from China for hundreds of ballistic missiles. President Trump says he cautioned Netanyahu not to launch an attack on Iran while talks are ongoing. But Trump also said his stand could change with a phone call if talks with Iran aren't making progress. In another show of U.S. support for Israel, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced sanctions against 4 judges on the International Criminal Court, saying they are directly involved in The Hague's efforts to prosecute Israeli and U.S. nationals for alleged war crimes in Gaza. The decision follows Hungary's earlier move to withdraw from the ICC rather than arrest Netanyahu when he came to visit.
If you check the voting records at the UN General Assembly, you will find a few countries, just a few countries from Europe, opposing every and each anti-Israeli, anti-Zionist resolution. Hungary is among those countries.
And in Lebanon, Israel warned Lebanese civilians to leave specific areas before it struck Hezbollah drone production sites and storage facilities in Beirut and southern Lebanon used by the Hezbollah aerial unit. The IDF says Hezbollah has launched more than 1,000 explosive and reconnaissance UAVs at Israel since the beginning of the war. The IDF says Hezbollah is working to produce thousands of drones under the direction and funding of Iranian terrorists as part of Iran's efforts to harm the state of Israel. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Continuing our coverage in the Middle East is our bureau chief now, Chris Mitchell, joining us. So, Chris, what more can you tell us about the clan in Gaza that opposes Hamas?
Well, we did report on that a few days ago. They issued a historic declaration, and for the first time, somebody in Gaza, a group in Gaza, openly declared, they said, enough is enough. Hamas has brought ruin and blood to us, and it no longer represents us. And they hold Hamas fully responsible for all the devastation going on in Gaza. They've been vetted, obviously, by Israeli security agency. They're called the Shin Bet and the IDF. And so the goals, Ephraim, would be to aid in the fight against Hamas, actually improve security around those distribution sites. They have been armed by the IDF with actually weapons captured from Hamas. So these are Israeli allies working on the ground with Israel. And apparently they are not ideologically driven like Hamas. So after the war with Hamas is over, they might be allies that could work with the IDF and Israel going forward.
Chris, the IDF released a conversation with a person from Gaza. What can you tell us about that conversation?
Well, it was very revealing, Ephraim. The Army started, this is what they're saying. this particular man. It was recorded by the IDF that the army started firing after mortars were fired at them by Hamas. They don't want, meaning Hamas doesn't want people to receive aid. That's why these distribution centers set up by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation are so important. Hamas wants to foil that plan. This man said that they live off the theft. Hamas was the one who fired on the people trying to get the aid. So the aid, they want to go to them. They've been stealing it. They live off the aid. He said because of what's happening militarily and because of the aid not going through Hamas, they're nearly bankrupt. So they want this aid to go through the way it has for about a year and a half through the UN so they can steal it. He calls them criminals, blames them, says they're just like ISIS and they have no compassion for their people.
Of course, there's been a cancellation of a pro-Israel conference in Texas. What can you tell us about that?
Well, it was sponsored by the people called the Israel Guys. They live up in Samaria. They have a radio show. They have a YouTube channel. And they developed this place called the Israel Summit. They were expected to draw about 1,000 people from across the U.S. to Dallas. They had speakers from the U.S. and Israel, and they were forced to cancel it because of American jihadist threats, direct and indirect threats. They were pro-Hamas jihadist groups. They threatened to attack the venue. And we did an interview that we'll have on Jerusalem Dateline. They just say this is a growing evidence of hostility towards support for Israel in the U.S., following the murders of Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram, then the other anti-Semitic incident there in Boulder, Colorado. They said they postponed it, but they call it a defining moment where it's a call for clarity, unity, and courage, and they are planning for another Israeli summit in the future.
You mentioned that interview coming up on Jerusalem Dateline. What else is in store?
Well, we have an update story, Ephraim. We also have an interview with Israeli Ambassador Yakir Leiter. That was on yesterday's 700 Club. We'll have an excerpt from that. And as you said, we had an interview with Joshua Waller from the Israel Guys talking about the cancellation of that summit. And we have two stories on anti-Semitism, one on the Colorado attack and another on a man named David Portnoy, that he was filming an aid and there was an anti-Semitic slur. All indications of this growing anti-Semitism in the U.S. and around the world, for that matter. We'll have that on this week's Jerusalem Dateline.
All right, thank you. Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief, Chris Mitchell, we always appreciate your insight. Look forward to seeing you again come next week. Want to remind you at home that you can get the latest from Jerusalem Dateline at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can find it on the CBN News Channel. You can also watch it on the CBN News app, or you can find it on YouTube. Ukrainian leaders say Russia attacked 6 regions in Ukraine with 407 drones and 44 missiles early Friday morning. 3 emergency responders were killed in Kyiv after the barrage of air attacks. Ukrainian forces say they shot down about 30 of the cruise missiles and up to 200 of the drones. The United Nations says the attacks have killed more than 12,000 civilians in Ukraine since the war began back in 2022. Here at home, the escalating feud between President Donald Trump and Elon Musk has reached new heights. The world's richest man says without him, Trump would have lost the election. However, President Donald Trump and Elon Musk could be headed toward a truce as a call between the two is scheduled for today. Our Charlene Aaron is on this story.
After months of solidarity and mutual praise between the two leaders, the rift began with Musk's criticism of President Trump's big, beautiful bill, with both men engaging in a war of words on social media. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination, Musk posted on X Tuesday. Trump responding by saying Musk knew what was in the package.
I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem, and he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate.
But Musk says he was never shown the bill after the president said he knew what was in it. Musk, who reportedly spent at least $250 million to help re-elect Trump, went on to claim, "Without me, Trump would have lost the election," something the president adamantly denies.
I think I would have won. Susie would say I would have won Pennsylvania easily anyway.
The president also posting Elon was wearing thin. "I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everybody to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew I was going to do, and he just went crazy." Trump also threatening to terminate Musk's government subsidies and contracts, a move that could devastate the billionaire's bottom line. Tesla stock sank Thursday on news of Musk and Trump's falling out. In response, Musk said he would decommission the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft, a capsule used to take astronauts and supplies to the International Space Station, but he later backed away from the idea. Musk also dropped what he called the really big bomb, claiming that President Trump has ties to Jeffrey Epstein, who was accused of sex trafficking. Musk didn't offer any proof, but said the truth would come out. When asked about the issue, the president did not respond.
Mr. President, any response to Elon Musk?
The former head of Doge also suggested support for a new third party. It's time to create a new political party in America that actually represents the 80% in the middle, Musk wrote in a post on X. Meanwhile, political observers expected a likely breakup between two such powerful personalities, but maybe not in such a public fashion. Now, many Republicans and conservatives are hoping that a reconciliation might be possible. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Coming up, is the epicenter of global terrorism. Half of terror-related deaths occur here. ISIS, Boko Haram, and Al-Qaeda are trying to fill a power vacuum. We're going to show you how extremism here is sowing chaos around the world. Stay with us. You're watching CBN News Watch. A huge area in Africa known as the Sahel is becoming a powder keg. The region is riddled with poverty, conflict, and despair. Terrorists are turning it into a battleground. George Thomas brings us the story from the heart of the crisis.
The Sahel stretches east to west across portions of 10 African countries, including Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Chad.
It spans thousands of miles, very remote.
Here, the sun beats down relentlessly. The air, dry and stifling. People live in the shadow of the Sahara and struggle to survive.
The life in the region is very harsh.
The reality is brutal, with 80% of the population living on less than $2 a day. It's a place where survival often feels like a constant battle. The governments across the Sahel are weak, torn apart by political instability and corruption. And into this void have stepped Islamic extremists.
The Sahel's the epicenter of global terrorism.
Steve Kelelea's organization, which publishes the annual Global Terrorism Index, shows the Sahel has become ground zero for global terrorism, surpassing even Afghanistan and Iraq.
What we find is the number of deaths there have increased 10 times since 2019.
More than half of all terrorism-related deaths worldwide occurring here. The primary perpetrators are ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Terrorism analyst Bill Roggio, editor of the Long War Journal, says these groups, despite being bitter rivals, share a common vision.
They want to establish a global caliphate and impose their harsh version of Sharia or Islamic law on the people.
Rida Liamori, a Sahel expert at the Morocco-based Policy Center for the New South, tells CBN News that ISIS and Al-Qaeda are rapidly expanding their hold.
When we talk about the Sahel and the conflict, we are referring mainly to the three countries of Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, but also we can include parts of Chad and Mauritania.
The signs of this unraveling are clear. Since 2000, there have been 6 coups in the region.
You have weak African governments. You've had multiple juntas that have overthrown established governments that have been friendly to both the United States and the French. And it's become a very, very dangerous area.
Here in Chad's capital, in N'Djamena, residents fear instability in neighboring nations could spill over its borders.
The sport of Africa is complex. We have war in Sudan, instability in Libya, Burkina Faso, and Mali. All these countries are in a state of chaos, and that can have an impact on Chad.
While Christian humanitarian organizations like World Vision are trying to help, the situation remains dire. In western Chad's Lak province, Boko Haram's violent cross-border raids have left a trail of destruction by abducting women and children and forcing thousands to flee their home.
It's a triangle between 3 countries, Chad, Niger, and Nigeria. Because of the militancy, they drive people in different directions through their activities. And so our humanitarian imperative drives us to go into these places because we know most of the people affected by this are women and children.
In the last couple of years, the United States, along with the French, have really helped the Chadian government to come up with a very strong anti-terrorism unit that has aggressively gone after ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Boko Haram elements operating within the country.
The West, which once tried to stabilize the region, has been kicked out. The U.S. and France have been forced to withdraw from key bases in Chad and Niger, leaving behind a power vacuum that extremists are eager to fill.
The U.S. spent hundreds of millions of dollars to build the airbase in northern Niger, and then suddenly they have to leave everything behind. And it's the same thing, they have left Chad, they have left Mali, and they have left this void.
Giving the terror groups more freedom.
A country like Burkina Faso, half of it is considered to be under the control of Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda controls significant portions of Mali. The Islamic State also has significant presence in Mali and in Niger.
Kelalia adds the threats are not confined to just these countries. Togo, Benin, and Ivory Coast now face danger as well. In February, Moroccan authorities arrested several individuals plotting attacks on behalf of ISIS. As the West retreats, Russia is seeking influence, securing arms deals with Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. In early April, their foreign ministers visited Moscow, where Russia pledged to arm and train a 5,000-strong force.
In return, what Russia gets is access to a lot of the natural resources within these countries, especially gold.
Giving the Kremlin additional funds to continue its war against Ukraine.
I would also add to that, the Russians are looking to deal a blow to U.S. and European influence within Africa as well.
With Western powers withdrawing, Russia expanding its presence, and local governments faltering, the Sahel faces an uncertain future. Experts warn the growing Islamic threat will further destabilize the region. George Thomas, CBN News, Eastern Chad.
Still ahead, signs of a revival in South Carolina. Stay with us. You're watching CBN News Watch. A move of God is stirring in upstate South Carolina. Area people are calling it the beginning of a revival. It's bringing churches from across the state together for a big crusade this weekend. CBN's Wendy Griffith has this story.
I believe you died for me.
Evangelist Jacob Ebersole of World Harvest Ministry says something special is happening in upstate South Carolina.
What's happening right now is something that we couldn't even dream or imagine. We give all glory to God. People from all the way from Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, Gaffney, honestly, all the way to Myrtle Beach and even into other states, North Carolina, are getting word of this crusade that is coming June 6th, 7th, and 8th.
For 2 years, Ebersol's been holding events to inspire and equip the local church for this 3-day gospel outreach that he says is stoking the fires of revival.
People are getting saved in the highways and the byways, in the prisons, but not only getting saved, going on mission, getting plane tickets to some of our crusades overseas. You know, there's been prophetic words that the upstate of South Carolina would be a light unto the nations, and we are starting to step into that now.
Ebersol, an international evangelist who's preached all over the world, said it was time to shine the light of Christ in his hometown.
The event starts that night, June 6th at 7, but every night, starting at 5:30, we're going to feed the city. We're trying to feed 3,000 to 4,000 people per night. It's something that the churches have come together to pull off. It's a massive undertaking. If you want to be a part of the gospel choir, come early every night before 7, and we're going to worship together.
And what's so unique about this event is the unity. Congregations, big and small, crossing racial and denominational lines to preach the gospel.
Literally, churches from Spartanburg County, the inner city, where the crusade's going to happen, have come together. All different backgrounds, denominations, breaking down racial barriers. It's the Lord doing it, but it's definitely been something that we've worked very hard for.
Their main goal, to see as many people come to Jesus as possible.
And Jacob, you're not finished after Spartanburg. What happens after that?
So after Spartanburg, we're heading to the capital of South Carolina. And after that, we plan on hitting the 12 major cities all across the state. We're not stopping in Spartanburg. It's go time.
Wendy Griffith, CBN News.
It's go time again. The Spartanburg Crusade is this evening through Sunday at the fairgrounds in Spartanburg, South Carolina. You can find more information at cbnnews.com. Stay with us. You're Friday Faithful. It's coming up next. Time now for your Friday Faithful, and today I want to leave you with this message as we wrap another week together. You can't lose. You are the child of a perfect God. You are always winning or learning. Any loss is only a lesson for restoration. Remember this, it gets greater later. What's ahead is more than what's behind, and it all works together for your good and for God's glory. With that word, make this a fabulous Friday and have yourself a wonderful weekend. That will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. You can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel or online at cbnnews.com. Let us know what you think of the stories you've seen here this week. You can email us newswatch@cbn.com. We look forward to seeing you back here same time Monday. Goodbye. God bless.